let's talk about how technology has changed how we make decisions, because this is a pretty big deal, right? There's been a lot of advances in technology that have brought about significant changes in our daily lives, from the way that we communicate to how we make decisions. Now, the proliferation of smartphones and social media platforms and other digital technologies has had a really profound impact on our brain's decision-making process. So today, I want to discuss a little bit about how technology has changed our brain's decision-making process. We'll dip into the underlying neuroscience associated with those changes, around how it has actually, how we can explain how technology has changed these decision-making processes. We'll have a look at the changes. We'll have a look at how we can leverage those changes to ultimately become more influential. Now, the human brain is, as we know, it's a really, really complex and a very sophisticated organ that has evolved over millions and millions of years to process information and to make decisions. And it happens a lot differently in humans than it does in other animals, right? Now, your brain's decision-making processes, this involves multiple areas. It involves things like your prefrontal cortex, your limbic system, the basal ganglia, and all of these things work together to help us evaluate options, to help us weigh pros and cons, and ultimately to help us make a decision. Now, one of the most significant ways that technology has changed the brain's decision-making processes is through the introduction of information overload. We've got information, just an abundance of information available at our fingertips, right? And because of that, we are constantly bombarded with new stimuli, which makes it difficult for the brain to prioritize and to filter out irrelevant information. Now, this overload can lead to decision fatigue, where your brain becomes exhausted, and when it becomes more and more tired, it's unable to make optimal decisions. It can't make the best decisions. Now, there's also something else going on here, right? And this is social media platforms, and they've created a new form of essentially social comparison. And the desire to keep up with others and to stay connected has led us to this constant need for attention and for validation. And this need can alter the way that people make decisions, which leads them to prioritize short-term gains like clicks and likes over long-term benefits like, I don't know, actually doing something worthwhile. Now, this constant feedback loop of likes and comments and shares, why it's so addictive is it creates that dopamine rush in your brain, and this further, it just reinforces that behavior. Now, the neuroscience underlying these changes is quite complex, and it's also multifaceted. One key area of research that we look at is the impact of technology on the brain's reward system. Now, the reward system is responsible for releasing dopamine, which is that neurotransmitter that is really crucial in things like motivation and pleasure. And when we look at social media platforms and other digital technologies, well, these have been shown to activate the reward system, which leads to that addictive behavior and which leads to that changes in the decision-making processes. Now, another area of research that we look at is the impact of technology on attention and memory. You know, I don't know how often where we talk to people and we hear, oh, I'm finding it hard to focus, or I can't pay attention as long as I used to, and this is due to the effect of technology. And with the constant influx of information, your brain has to continually shift its attention, which makes it more difficult to focus on one task for an extended period of time. And this is why the focus that we talk about a lot is emotional agility and cognitive agility and motivational agility. It's not about intelligence anymore. It's about agility and then being able to switch between these things, because it's this constant switching that can lead to a decrease in working memory, which makes it more difficult to process information and to make decisions. So, how do we leverage these changes in the brain's decision-making process, and how can we leverage them to become more influential? Now, one way is to understand the impact of technology on intention and memory, and that when we understand it, we can take steps to tailor our communication accordingly. For example, we know that attention and focus is an issue these days. It's not going away. That's one thing. We can work to make it better, but not everybody does, right? So we need to accept things as they are. And when we do that, we start to think about how we communicate, and that's all about breaking down information into smaller, easily digestible pieces that can help people focus and retain information. Now, using visuals and other multimedia can also be effective in capturing attention and increasing engagement. Now, technology has brought about significant changes in the brain's decision-making processes, which leads to that information overload, which leads to that social comparison, and it leads to those changes in the reward system and also attention and memory. Like, that's a lot, right? That's a lot that's going on. And with all of these changes, they can have negative consequences, but they also present opportunities for leveraging the brain's decision-making processes to become more influential. So don't rush out and just label this as all bad, because yes, these changes can have negative consequences, but let's look at the opportunities that they present. And when we look at the opportunities that they present, that starts with understanding the changes, understanding the impact of technology, making sure that we're taking more time to make our decisions, making sure that we're not getting paralyzed by this information overload, and also being able to recognize when we might not be in the right state because our brain is a little bit tired and it's a little bit fatigued from all of this decision making. That maybe we're not making the right decision. So maybe we pause that decision. Maybe we don't add to cart at 1 a.m., for example. Maybe we wait till the next day and see if we really, really, really need that thing. Most of the time we probably do, right? Maybe we don't. Who knows? Okay, that's all for today. Enjoy. Just think about it. You know, technology is a great, what does Johnny say? He says technology is a great master, but a terrible slave. So make sure that you're the one in control and you're the one that is guiding this to do your bidding and not the other way around. That's all. Talk to you soon. Bye now.